I'm travelling around the Baltic Sea using Finnline's 3 passenger routes to do so. I'm taking the opportunity to talk to the region's seafarers. In this case, it's the Finns and Swedes who work on Finnline's vessels day in, day out, for weeks on end, come rain, snow, sun and storms. And I'm also using the journey to look at the Baltic Sea as an opportunity and a risk. It's the opportunity based around where it is and what's in it. And it's the risks that it's facing, mostly to its health, and how the countries surrounding it are working to make it healthier. So it's a journey about livelihoods, politics, pollution, and the opportunity, and how they all sit together in this strategic region. My name's Craig Eason. I'm a journalist and editor. I'm host of the Aronnax podcast, and I edit and run the Fathom World News website. And I'm about to join the second of my 3 vessels, Finnlady, in Helsinki. I arrived in Finland on board Europa Link. It was a 9-hour journey from Stockholm in the port of Kapellskär over to Naantali in the southwest of Finland, and you can hear about that in the first of these 3 episodes. On this, the second voyage, I'm going to be going from Helsinki's Vuosaari harbour to Travemünde in Germany. It's a journey of about 36 hours. But while in Helsinki, I'm going to be making a stop at the offices of the organisation that is checking on and working to rebuild the health of the Baltic Sea, a sea which is suffering from some very serious man-made problems. This is Helcom, the Helsinki Commission. Its offices are on the waterfront in Helsinki city centre. The 9 countries that border the Baltic are its signatories and therefore its members, so that's Denmark, Germany, Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Finland and of course Russia. The European Union makes up the 10th contracting party. Its work has been ongoing for decades, but in recent months it's been encapsulated into the Baltic Sea Action Plan. So, what's happening now to make the sea, infamous for its poisonous blue-green algae in the summer, for its eutrophication, for its huge volume of shipping all year round, and a growing economic activity from all its member states? So what's happening to make the sea better? Rutger Strempel is Helcom's executive secretary, so I popped into the Helcom offices to see him before I headed off to Vuosaari port to join Finnlady, and I started by asking him to explain what the Baltic Sea Action Plan is and how it is going to make a difference.
The Baltic Sea Action Plan contains 4 specific thematic segments. So one of these thematic segments is dedicated to eutrophication, specifically to eutrophication. The Baltic Sea Action Plan, as you mentioned, contains roughly 200 actions. It's actually 199, and I never actually remember and know why we didn't make it to 200, but okay, it's 199, such is life. 36 of those are devoted to combating eutrophication, and so we have to look at the various sources of eutrophication. In that segment, we're looking at agriculture. We have a nutrient recycling strategy, which is supposed to be implemented by 2027, so this is an important element of combating eutrophication. So all of this is contained in the Baltic Sea Action Plan and has been a part of our work for decades, of course, not just since the inception of the Baltic Sea Action Plan itself.
As Strempel said, the countries that surround the Baltic Sea are making efforts to reduce the amount of pollution or over-nutrification that goes into the Baltic Sea. But the problem is unfortunately what's already in there, and here there's a very unfortunate similarity to climate change.
To jokingly say, if I drop a cork in the Baltic Sea outside my office here, which is right by the Baltic Sea, it'll still be here in the 2050s. Because it takes roughly 30 years for a full water exchange. And this is, of course, a problem that we have to contend with. And there is an ecosystem lag. So much as in the case of climate change, for instance, if we stopped emitting CO2 right now, we couldn't stop climate change because it's already on track. It's already taking place. We have a similar situation here. We have this ecosystem lag, and it's partially due to the legacy of nutrients in the sediment. Now, clearly, that is more difficult to cope with than actually stopping the input of nutrients now. I referred to riverine input. That is not the only source, of course. We also have other inputs, and shipping, for instance, also contributes to it because shipping exhaust, which contains NOx, nitrogen oxides, contributes to the eutrophication of the Baltic Sea. And we also have, for instance, grey water from ships and also food waste, which is disposed from ships into the Baltic Sea, which also contributes to eutrophication. So if you look actually at the Baltic Sea Action Plan, we have the specific segment on eutrophication, which addresses these various elements. But you can have to also look beyond that. For instance, if you look at the sea-based activities segment, you have elements in there which deal with reduction of NOx. We also have elements in there which deal with the reduction of grey water and food waste inputs and so on. So the entire Baltic Sea Action Plan in some way is related to this, and we have to basically address the sources of nutrient inputs now. That is our primary.
Strempel also told me about another major issue with the Baltic Sea that's in the Baltic Sea Action Plan. The thousands, possibly hundreds of thousands of unexploded mines, bombs, other ordnance that's been dumped or left in the waters of the Baltic Sea from the Second World War and even later.
40,000 tons of chemical munitions alone, were dumped in the Baltic Sea at designated dumping sites, but also en route, which makes it more dramatic because while we may know where the dumping sites are, we don't know what was dropped where in between the dumping sites. So that's chemical munitions. We assume that there are about 300,000 tons of conventional munitions in German waters alone, and it's not just German waters, of course. Plus, in addition to dump munitions, there's also ordnance that was left behind, if you like, that was deployed and is still there. So we assume that some 35,000 mines can be found in the Gulf of Finland. Now, all of this has been out there for many decades, and of course, as you can imagine, as time progresses, it corrodes. So there's a risk of the contaminants in this ordnance seeping into the marine environment. Munitions have also been hauled up by fishermen in their nets, so unexploded ordnance in a fisherman's net is no joke. It's a major.
Now, you recall that I mentioned the member states that are in Helcom. You remember that list? And it includes Russia. Now, in nearly all political circles, Russia has been cast out because of its invasion of Ukraine. So how has this impacted what Helcom is doing? And importantly, will it have any impact on the work to clean up the Baltic?
If you're looking to protect an international body of water, you need to do so with all the countries bordering on that body of water on board. Otherwise, it's going to be insufficient and inadequate. And this is something that the contracting parties to Helcom acknowledged in 1974. When they reached across the ideological divide at the time to join efforts, and something they acknowledge again in 1992, and it's something they still acknowledge. So first of all, the message I'd like to convey is that Helcom has not ground to a halt. Helcom is still working, and in that context, it should be noted that Russia continues to be a contracting party to Helcom. It has neither withdrawn nor has it been suspended or expelled by any means. So Russia is still a contracting party. Now, having said all this, of course, at the moment, the geopolitical background makes cooperation a bit more difficult than we would like it to be. But cooperation is still ongoing within Helcom. So Helcom is delivering its deliverables in line with its timetables, with its timelines. Cooperation has been subjected by the contracting parties other than Russia to something that is referred to as a strategic pause. This should not be misinterpreted to mean that Helcom has ceased to operate. What it means is that all official meetings of Helcom bodies have been postponed. This does not preclude, however, having informal meetings and informal gatherings. And when it comes to decision-making and approvals and so on, at the political level, this is being done by means of a written procedure. So Helcom continues to operate, Helcom continues to be on track, but of course at the moment it's more difficult than we would wish it to be.
Well, my time was soon up at Helcom, so grabbing my bags, I head off to the port of Vuosaari, which is Helsinki's major port. It's to the east of the city, and it's home to Finnline's headquarters. And it's from there that 3 of Finnline's Ropax vessels head south to the continent. Finnlines doesn't really compete head-to-head with any other ferry or freight operator on this route, unlike elsewhere. So it's built up the route to attract European cargoes and also create a comfortable link between Finland and Germany for passengers, such as families with cars visiting Finland or Germany for a vacation. So at Vuosaari, we're shuttled onto the Finnlady car deck, and after getting my cabin key at reception, I head to the bridge to say hello to the captain and the deck crew, and watch the vessel leave Helsinki, slicing through the very thin sea ice, the result of a warmer winter than usual. And the next morning, a grey, cloudy, cold winter Baltic day, I'm able to talk to the crew about their experiences and what makes them tick. What makes a young person go to sea today, and what do they think about the future and the technology? Well, I managed to get to Vuosaari harbour in Helsinki and get on board Finnlady, and we're now on our way down to Travemünde. And I've come onto the bridge and I've met Jalmari Pieninen. He's the second officer of Finnlady. Tell me a little bit about yourself and how you see the job that you're doing here, and what's it like being at sea in today's environment?
Yeah, well, I started my school on 2014, so I haven't really seen the first ships I went to be an apprentice on. I saw the paper charts, the updating of paper charts and all that stuff, but these newer ships, we don't have the paper charts anymore, only to the emergency harbors. We have them and we have to do some updates, of course, to those charts.
Do you find when you're doing the navigation and you're using the ECDIS? I mean, it's my way of looking at a radar, looking at an ECDIS being sort of slightly old-fashioned and not you doing things today. It tended. I'm not sure I could look at an ECDIS today and actually navigate with it. I mean, have you got a sort of electronic mindset now?
Yeah, of course. Of course, I am one of the youngest and the younger generation on the ship, and I have like experience from computers in the shoreside and all that stuff. I have lived with computers all my life pretty much. Well, not the like first 5 years or so.
What made you want to actually go to sea? Because it's often said that a younger generation, they look at a career away from home and it's not attractive. They look at the opportunities in the gaming industry, in digital companies, the ability to have a social life and work from home or work in an office and meet all your friends on a Friday night. Whereas going to sea doesn't offer all of that. So what makes a shipping career, what makes being at sea attractive for you?
When I applied to schools, I actually got into university to do some data, I don't know what it's called in English, but data like managing and management. And then I also applied to the sea captain school, how we call it in Finland. And then the sea captain school, it just sounded much more fascinating than the data school in university, and can I swear in the podcast? I was thinking that it sounds much more interesting, that I'm kind of person that I cannot stay in one place or one computer for a long time, but it's sea environment, it sounds much more interesting, that kind of office job.
What do you see in the shipping industry today? I cover a lot of things from a journalistic perspective. Yeah. I'm talking to people about the sustainability of the industry, about the use of new fuels, whether it's ammonia or methanol or LNG. I'm talking about the levels of autonomous systems coming into ships, and I'm talking about a higher level of kind of oversight and the huge amount of regulations that are coming in. As a seafarer, do you see all of this as well, or are you sort of totally engrossed in this one ship and its one route? Do you get a larger picture of the whole industry?
Well, in our routine work, of course, we don't really see the future or development, other than the regulations are getting stricter and stricter. But personally, for me, I'm fascinated by the technology and the development of all the fuels and stuff, and I'm interested in those. Some people, of course, older people might see them as how do you call it, like it's not good for the industry and stuff, but I like it that things are going forward, technology is getting developed all the time, and I like it. I wouldn't like it that it's all the same for next 40 years. There must be something new every time.
That's
every year.
interesting because a lot of people, and I guess this is an age thing as well,
Yeah.
older people don't like, perhaps, they're not as ready to accept change, whereas being young and you've got a full career ahead of you, 40 years career ahead of you here in the industry, you want to see change. Do you feel that you've got an opportunity to be real part of that?
Well, I don't really see myself as developing or having the knowledge of the development, but of course I can, and I have to give my view of the people who are actually working on the sea, because most of the changes are coming from shoreside and laws, regulations and all that stuff, and they don't always take in account the people who are actually working.
Good. Well, Hjalmari, good luck.
Yeah,
Thank you very much for letting me come and have a chat with you. I'm off to have a chat with your captain now. Well, I've now met up with Captain Pekka Stenvik, who is master of Finnlady. Thank you for letting me come and have a chat with you up on the bridge here. I've just been talking to your second mate about his expectations being a young officer with his career ahead of him. And one of the things I wanted to have a chat with you about is, first of all, a little bit about Finnlady, but let's also talk about how you see this industry today. You've got a lengthy career.
Yeah, 85 I started on that ship over there, which is the Rosella, and since then I've been at sea all the time.
Just to explain, just behind us, we've just gone past Rosella, the Viking Line vessel, which I believe is on its way out of the Baltic now.
Yes,
it's been
going
sold.
it's sold into the Mediterranean now.
So you've had a long career. Has most of it been here in the Baltic? Would you call yourself, a Baltic Sea captain?
Yeah, I've been in the Baltic Sea most of the time, but I've seen the Mediterranean, North Atlantic, and been around a little bit here and there.
What's the attraction of the Baltic Sea?
Well, I know the Baltic Sea, I know the regulations, how it goes here, and I know all the ships, and this is my area.
The route that we're running between Helsinki down to Travemünde, we go sort of slightly westish and then south. We go past Gotland, near Bornholm, and then down in towards Germany. Is there any what's the exciting parts of that route?
Well, this route, of course, we have quite exciting. We have plenty of warships nowadays, and then we got the explosion of the gas pipeline. It's quite close to this place where we are now, close to Bornholm, and then, of course, all the views and everything. And nowadays we have small dolphins outside Rostock on this route.
You mentioned the explosion in the gas pipeline.
Yeah.
Did you see anything?
Well, we didn't see the explosion. We weren't close to it. But the days afterwards, as it was bubbling out, the gas from the pipeline, we saw the bubbling. It was about 6 to 8 meters high.
The bubbles were...
bubbles, yeah. Okay. Because they had some guard vessels around it, and so we could see the height of the bubbles.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, you could see it really.
Yeah. So let's look back at sort of how you see this ship and the new ships that are going to be coming in. How do you see all the technology changes? I was just talking to your second mate about his sort of love of change, really, how he's excited about, the 40 years that he may have in his career in the industry. How do you see all of this change? He was a bit kind of cautious about saying it, but I got the impression that he thinks that sort of the older generations are a little bit more cautious about change.
Yeah, of course. If we now compare this Viking Line ship, the Rosella, and there we had a hand rudder all the time, 24/7. And nowadays it's automatic all the way, and for example our electronic seat charts, nowadays we don't have the paper charts here on board anymore, and I'm looking forward. We should get our new ships in the near future sometimes, and I'm really expecting and looking forward to it, to see what they develop, and of course now I have been on this type of ship 10 years already, so I have seen this. So I'm expecting to get something new again.
I was talking to you earlier on, and you mentioned something that I thought was quite interesting, because I write a lot, and the people who are ashore who listen to the podcast and read Fathom World, they're interested in fuel-saving technologies and efficiencies. And we quite often hear about companies that change propellers or change bulbous bows or use some other technologies. And I was intrigued when you said that this vessel had smaller propellers put on
Yes.
a while ago. Tell me a little bit more about the sort of savings you see on one leg.
Yeah. Okay, our top speed is now a little bit less than before, but our fuel efficiency is much better than before because the smaller propellers, they don't use so much energy. And we save, on one leg, we save 30 tons of fuel, heavy fuel oil. So that's a really good, big cost.
So that's
And-
almost 30 tons a day because it is a sort of day and a half.
Yeah.
voyage.
It's just over a day, so it's
Yeah.
almost 25,
Yeah.
something like that, tons per day.
So it's a smaller propeller, and I believe it's not just the propeller. You've got is it called a boss cap to go to link the propeller to the rudder?
Exactly. Yeah. So there is a vortex behind the propeller, and then of course we use heavy fuel oil, which is not allowed in the Baltic without scrubbers. So
Yeah.
that's our exhaust gas cleaning.
Does it work well? The
Yes.
scrubber.
Yeah.
But I gather I've heard that quite often scrubbers need a lot of maintenance.
Yeah, they do. But we also have all the samples taken, and they go on a hard drive. And our officials, they also control this, so they have to be working perfectly.
So you're sort of the sulfur content is monitored in the exhaust, and that data is
Yes,
there.
The sulfur is taken away from the exhaust gas.
Yeah. And so how often do you get inspected on this ship and things like that, environmental performance and other things?
From Germany they inspect us twice a year, and from Finland all the time. We also have an inspection now in the afternoon. So
When it comes to your sort of when you see youngsters coming into the industry and the ability to attract people into the industry, Finnlines has got Finnish officers, Finnish crew, Finnish officers, or Swedish in some of the routes, but largely kind of North European crews and officers. Do you find that it's getting more and more difficult? Have you seen that it's getting more difficult to attract people to go to college and become seafarers?
No, we have. Sometimes we have smaller problems. COVID was a problem time, and after COVID, then we had a small problem. But otherwise, we have plenty. We have. First of all, we have one-to-one working schedule, so that means 3 weeks working and 3 weeks at home. And when I'm at home, I don't have to worry about the ship at all. And our salaries, they are very good compared to the ones ashore. For example, if you are a waiter or a bartender or whatever, the salaries are very comparing to...
By comparison.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So comparison to the ones ashore,
So
we
for
have very
those
good.
3 weeks, you can really switch off.
Yeah.
Do
And-
whatever your hobbies are.
Yeah, for example,
Yeah.
I was just making a trip to the Canary Islands now, and I didn't have to worry about the ship at all. And our work here on board,
The 3 weeks on.
from the cabin to the workplace, that takes 2 minutes to walk, and we have ready food on the table, and you don't have to worry about anything except your work. And afterwards, on this ship, we have sauna and everything, and we have a good environment inside our crew. And to talk about Finnlines, we are a part of the Grimaldi group, and we are preparing and developing new ships coming out all the time. So the development that I can see inside this company is very good. And if I'm asked, I don't want to leave this company at all. So in 9 years, I will be retired, and I hope I can stay here as long as it takes.
Thank you very much, Captain. Thank you for the time.
No problem.
I've come off of the bridge and I'm now down in the restaurant area, and with me is Dan Grönvall. Dan, you are responsible for the food concepts that are going to be going into the new building vessels when they come, aren't you?
Yes,
So you're looking at what you can deliver in foods. Now, it's worth bearing in mind that this is not, these new vessels and these vessels are not just passenger vessels, they're RoPax
Yeah.
vessels. But from what I understand, there's more of a focus on passengers
Yeah.
in the new vessels.
Yeah.
So it's like increasing the focus on passengers,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yeah, the passengers at the moment on these old ships are 500, and on new ships it's 1,100 passengers. But about 200 are drivers, truck drivers. But yes, the new segment for Finnlines is passengers. We have many new restaurants. They are coming a la carte and buffet, of course, grill where you can get some burgers and steaks, and a very nice spa area with bar.
In terms of that balance between families going on holiday or people who want a sort of a day cruise experience and the logistics freight drivers, when you're doing the food concepts, there must be a sort of balance that you're going to have to strike, because the freight drivers don't always want to come on board and have that sort of luxury experience. They're working, they come on board, they have their meals. What do you do in terms of finding that balance between the sort of enticement of passengers so families can come on board and, you know, that sort of day in, day out kind of trade?
Yeah, the drivers on Finnlines, so they know these ships. They know us. So on the Naantali-Kapellskär route, yeah. They know, they just come on board, eat, sleep, and then they eat again and leave the ship, because it's so short. It takes the 9 hours.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. You are here now, you've got to a position where I think you said you're even going to be going out to China to see the vessels and to bring them back
Yes.
over to Northern Europe
yeah.
later this year. But what's your career been like? How long have you been working on ships in this role or other roles?
I started on ships in '95.
Okay.
It was 1 year after Estonia. I remember it well. I was in the dishwashing on ship, and there was the silent moment, one minute silent moment to Estonia. It was my first day on the ship. But then 2006 I came to Finnlines. When Finstar was new in Italy, I was there to bring the ship to Travemünde. And now I've been from 2006 to last September. I was working on this route from Helsinki to Travemünde. And then this new building project I've been doing 2 years. When I work on the ships, help Kristiina Uppala and Reija Saarinen planning the food concept. But last September I got off ship and started to work in the office and plan more intensively with the...
So it sounds like it's quite a lot. It's not... Most people don't often... they don't think about how the food has been not prepared but planned. So the whole concepts behind the food and the experience that you see on board a vessel. Not a lot of people, but it's just... often I'll go on board a ship and I will see the buffet and I'll eat the buffet and I'll say that's good or that's bad and... You know, or whatever. I don't think about how much time and planning has gone into preparing what that ship's going to have on board.
Yeah.
It seems like you've spent 2 years looking at how you're going to bring concepts onto a new building.
Yeah.
So what's gone on in those 2 years? What is the process? And tell me a little bit about where you're getting the food from. How sustainable are you thinking?
We have been 2 years have been working. And we started to we put our own ideas on paper. And then we started to think what restaurants we have, what food we will sell there, and what kind of food we will sell there. So we have been working on that. And all the cutleries, glasses, plates. It's been a crazy year now because we did just a big list of every glass, cutlery, plates, everything you need in the kitchen, everything you need in a bar. So it was 100 pages of products, which my boss in China will go to a factory in China. We need this. How much does this cost?
Oh, and what about the food itself? Where are you going to be sourcing the food from? Will it be?
It's going to be a new, how do you say it in English? Delivers food. It's going to be a new contract. It's going to be Kespro, which is very big in Finland, Kesko concern. So they're gonna bring the food to us, and it's gonna be. We are striving to get local food.
Okay, so
it's important, and archipelago there. So we are gonna use.
So no less imported food, seasonal food,
Yeah,
perhaps.
yeah.
Seasonal,
Yeah.
local, the kind of food that one would find regional growing in Finland
Yeah.
or Germany or Sweden or
and Åland.
or Åland.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
Great, lovely. Dan, thanks a lot for the time. I do appreciate it. Good luck with it
Thank
all.
you, thank
and enjoy the journey home from China on the ship.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting summer coming. In June, we are gonna fly to Weihai, and then maybe 2 weeks at the dockside, and then July 1st, they may be gonna give the ship to Finnlines, and then we can start to
Sail home.
Yeah, 40 days.
40 days to
40
sail home.
days.
That'll be the longest voyage you've done in one go, won't it?
Yeah, never been.
Well, it's time to get ready to leave Finnlady. The vessel enters Travemünde. And while I've been aboard the vessel, courtesy of Finnlines, I've also had the chance to meet up with the intelligence hunt team that's been brought together by Sea Focus International. IH and Sea Focus International are building up the bridge between businesses seeking a way to look at new problems with new eyes and the students and young people seeking the opportunity to show their ideas and working in an industry that's rapidly evolving. So if you want to see what's happening, I urge you to go to Sea Focus International's website. In your browser, just type in seafocus.international and you'll see what those opportunities are. But now, as I said, as we travel through to Travemünde Road to Finnline's terminal, I pack my bags and get ready to go straight over to my third trip on this tour, the wonderfully sounding Finnfellow, which I did notice was just sailing a couple of hours behind Finnlady into Travemünde. So that's it for me for the second of the 3 episodes. The third episodes will be me travelling from Travemünde to Malmö in Finnfellow, and an episode where I look at spatial plans for the future use of the Baltic Sea. Can we work to make the Baltic Sea cleaner, as Helcom wants, and make it sustainable for future use? You can find out more about these voyages and the Baltic, about the shipping industry, its environmental changes and the ways the ocean and shipping industries are evolving, hopefully sustainably, by visiting fathom.world. That's the website dedicated to the transformation that we're all facing. So until the next time, bon voyage.